Oh dear, George is scared of his own reflection.
Oh, silly George.
Oh dear, George's dinosaur ice lolly has melted and fallen on the ground.
Never mind, George.
Oh, now, George.
Oh dear, maybe the dinosaur wasn't quite that fierce, Daddy Pig.
Oh dear, Pepper has pushed George too high. George does not like being up high.
Pepper.
George does not like being up high.
Sorry, George.
Too high for George.
Don't worry, George.
Oh dear, George does not want to be a worm. He wants to be a butterfly. George is too little to catch the ball.
Never mind, George.
Oh dear, George is frightened.
Don't be frightened, George.
Daddy! Mommy! Dinosaur!
George has left Mr. Dinosaur behind.
Oh, George.
We've lost Polly. Grandpa. Dinosaur!
George does not like sharing.
Richard, let George hold the dinosaurs now.
Richard does not like sharing either.
What's all this crying about?
Oh dear, this game has not gone very well. Pepper and George love making sandcastles.
No, George, don't be upset.
No, the wind has blown George's hat off.
Don't worry, George. Daddy Pig will catch your hat.
You missed it.
Never mind, George. You can see Cuckoo next time.
Has missed Cuckoo again.
Never mind, George.
Leo Lion. George, remember.
Just 1 foot into the water. Maybe you should try the other foot.
Maybe George should try both feet.
Oh dear, Richard has dropped his watering can into the pool.
Don't be frightened, George.
Dinosaur.
Mr. Dinosaur is George's favourite toy.
Pepper, you can't give away Mr. Dinosaur. I think the baby's too little to play with dinosaurs. Pepper, the baby is much too little to play ball games.
Cookies.
George likes cookies.
Maybe it can have 1.
Oh dear, George liked being the baby piggy.
Oh,
The house is for girls only.
What's wrong?
Why is Richard crying?
Is making a funny face.
don't worry, George. It's only Pepper.
Doubt.
Oh, sorry, George.
Oh dear, George doesn't like this game. George does not think it is funny.
And the rainbow is gone.
Don't worry, George.
Only pretty things are allowed in fairyland.
What's all this crying about?
George and Richard.
Hard to wait his turn.
Oh dear.
His turn.
Yes, George is little.
Oh dear, it is a bit too high for George.
Don't worry, George.
Big round.
Don't worry, George.
Oh dear, George doesn't want to leave Mr. Bull.
We're going to the playground.
Go home.
No.
Oh dear, George doesn't want to go home yet.
All must have finished and gone home.
George, Richard and Edmund haven't found any eggs.
I wonder where...
Richard and Edmund are out. So Zaza... Mummy, musical statues is over.
Lovely. Now it's time for Pass the Parcel.
Yay! No, George, that's Zaza's medal. Mummy, Pass the Parcel is finished.
Lovely. Now it's time for food.
Hooray!
Oh, the helpers have taken all the seats.
This is Edmund's party, remember? The helpers can eat after the little ones.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's very quick.
George has changed his mind.
Oh dear, George.
But we want to play here.
Oh dear, there is not enough room in the sandpit for more than 4 countries.
Lose them.
You'll play with the...
Mr. Dinosaur does not have a tail anymore.
Poor George.
Playing. I can...
Littlest one,
Let's play bat and ball.
out. George is a bit too little even for bat and ball.
Grandpa!
Oh! Got you. We bought George a dinosaur balloon.
But George, let him on. What's the matter, George? Shall I teach you? Sorry, George. It's...
George?
George?
George does not know where Mr. Dinosaur is. Oh dear, maybe this game is getting a little too rough.
Sorry, George.
Don't worry, George. Daddy will get the... Peppa, you mustn't play so roughly with George. He's only little.
Don't worry, George.
Oh dear. Peppa, you shouldn't tease George like that.
Sorry, George.
Baby Alexander is awake. Peppa and George are awake.
What's that noise? It's the vacuum cleaner.
Why are you vacuuming at night?
We're not disturbing you, are we?
What? Oh, no.
Baby Alexander is awake.
Why is Auntie Pig playing a trumpet?
To get Alexander,
That's baby Alexander's room.
the light has woken baby Alexander. It's all right. I've got the vacuum cleaner.
I've got the trumpet.
Stop! Stop! I remember another quiet way we used to get George to sleep.
Oh, yes. We drove him around in the car. I'll get the car started.
Don't forget the